Glen Moray 15-year-old Speyside single malt Scotch whiskey. Is this worth grabbing? Stay tuned for the Whisky Whistle. What's up, my whiskey people? Mark here for Whisky Whistle on YouTube, sharing a little whiskey awesomeness from South Korea, bringing you the third of three of my budget single malts. These are all under $100 and definitely things that you should be looking out for. And this one is Glen Moray, 15-year-old, and you'll notice that it is American and sherry casks. So we've got American oak, probably bourbon, but possibly virgin oak, combined with sherry casks to make this 15-year-old. It's 48% and it's unchill filtered. I do believe we do have color added here. The nice thing about this, it's a 15-year-old. It's got a huge amount of sherry casks involved here, and it is under $100 US. I think I picked this one up for $90 at duty free. It's nice that it's a liter, so you definitely get a lot more to enjoy. So when you think about that, a liter for $90 US, so that's a really good bargain in my opinion. Okay, let's get that poured. Another 1.5 ounce pour. Here on Whisky Whistle, again, thanks for joining. My name is Mark. We'll be checking out the color of the whiskey, the legs of the whiskey, and then getting into the nose, the palate, and the finish. The smells, the tastes, and the aftertaste, neat, and then with water before we give it a Whisky Whistle whiskey score. So make sure you stay tuned for that one. And before we get started, why not hit that subscribe button? And it should light up down at the bottom there. Please subscribe, and why not also hit the bell so that you'll be notified of future Whisky Whistles. And if you've already subscribed and you want to do one more thing, then check me out on Patreon, patreon.com/Whisky Whistle, and become a sponsor of the channel. You'll get your name in the credits of videos like this, and you'll also get advanced viewing of future Whisky Whistles. All right, so first of all, the color, pretty much the same as the Glenfiddich 12-year-old Amontillado finish that was in the last review. Make sure you check that out. So we have basically a straight up amber hue or slightly darker, but let's keep in mind that that has color added. So let's check the legs out. What do we see for legs here? Pretty slow first legs actually, and a very showy display of secondary legs. Ooh, this is really, really viscous. And I think one of the reasons for that is the fact that it's 48%, which is exactly the ABV where water plus ethanol gets to be most viscous. And then we add in all of the cask content and the distillate content that made it through distillation. And that's why we see that as viscous as it is. All right. I'm pretty excited about that. The nose now, this is neat. So one of the first things that I noticed is how tight this nose is. So it's really, really hard to get anything out of the nose other than just sort of like generic whiskey smells. And then you get a little bit of this aggressive, I believe that's worm tubs, I think. Is it worm tubs? But there's something about Glen Moray that makes it a very assertive, almost aggressive malt. Almost, what's the word, belying its presentation as a gentle, easy access beginner malt. I think it really isn't. I think they need to change their positioning. But anyway, here we are, 48%. And I get little tiny wafts of something sherry-esque, but it's really nondescript. Onto the palate then, palate neat. Chocolatey. Again, very aggressive. Lots of astringency. Lots of potency. And as I'm smacking my lips here, I'm getting some interesting prune flavors on the finish. Prune and chocolate. And it's really making me think, wow, okay, there's more to this than just your peripheral smelling and tasting lets on. Here we go. Chewing the malt absolutely brings out cherry-like notes, some prune, some chocolate. But interestingly, it's still rather just kind of sherry whiskey-esque and not much else. Nice long finish. The prunes carry quite a while, actually. So that's the one that's neat. I have one here. Here's my former glass that has water added. And one thing that, first of all, you'll be able to notice is that there's a tiny little bit of misting going on, of flocking, whatever you call it. It's not quite as beautifully clear, and it has this slight brightness to it. But anyway, let's get into that. The glass here with water added. I added 15 drops of water, which is 1 milliliter. Big change on the nose. The thing that I love about this is that when you add water, suddenly it comes alive. And this is really, really interesting. I'm getting some walnuts. I'm getting some roasted chestnuts or marrón, the paste of roasted chestnuts. Nutty, sherried, the prunes are there. The palate, more of the pruniness, a little bit of cherry, a little bit of raisin. The marrón, the roasted chestnut coming through on the palate a little bit as well. A little bit of raw almond as well. So very nutty, fruity, dark fruits. Pretty much the dream of what sherry lovers are looking for. Beautiful to sip. It's really tamed down. It's not that astringent. Among the last 3 reviews, the Glenfiddich Amontillado cask, which is, where is it? Over here. Which with water became far too astringent. And then we had Ladnoch, the Vinaya, which was excellent. Even though it has some sherry, it's really a bourbon-forward malt, and I highly recommend it. And then we have this one, $90 US for a full liter, and it's got really, really, really dark, lovely flavors, especially with water added. And I'm thinking that this is an absolute bargain. And I'm not sure if I lost the segment where I mentioned that you buy it, you have a dram, and then you put it away for a month. Or you decant it, and then decant it back in the bottle, and maybe give it at least a few more days. It does need some air before the bottle really sings. Final taste here. Beautifully chewy, prune-like, raisiny, cherry, delicious. sherry malt here. And when I think about the fact that this has some American bourbon, it's like, well, what are they doing exactly? I think they're just actually tempering that sherry a bit. And I really wonder what those casks would be like, just straight up, full on sherry matured. I think that would be pretty amazing. Delicious, especially with water. Very, very long, fruity, prune-like, chocolatey finish. And I think you can't ask any more out of a $90 US bottle for a liter. So it's basically about $90 Canadian for the 700 milliliters. Really, really fantastic. So let's get on to the Whisky Whistle whiskey score. For Glen Moray, 15-year-old, American and sherry casks, non-chill filtered, 48%. What is that going to be, folks? It's going to be 87 out of 100. You heard it, 87 out of 100 is the Whisky Whistle whiskey score. For Glen Moray, 15-year-old, I recommend it. I strongly recommend it, with the caveat that you give it time in the bottle and the caveat that you add water to your dram. Okay? So I hope you enjoyed that review. If you have that bottle, leave some comments with your tasting notes. Have you tried it with water? If not, please do and leave a comment. And thanks for tagging along this far. So that's been the conclusion of my 3-part little series on very affordable single malts. The Glen Moray 15-year-old. I'll just showcase them all here. And then before that, we had the Glenfiddich 12-year-old Amontillado finish, which is fully sherry matured. And then the first in the series was the delicious Bladnoch Vinaya. No age statement, but 46.7% and great casks there. So those are the 3. You will not go wrong with any of these, especially the Bladnoch and also the Glen Moray. But I'll say it again that this Glenfiddich is the best Glenfiddich you can buy under 21 years of age. All right, so thanks everybody. Again, my name is Mark. Don't forget to subscribe and do check me out on Patreon. We'll see you again. Take care.